There are some acts that we all agree are evil. Murder, torture, abuse. They seem objectively wrong. But why? I'm not trying to justify his acts, but why were Epstein's acts so evil and we all agreed on it? It's time to put your mind on the matter of morality. Jeffrey Epstein was a financier who became one of the most infamous criminals in modern history. He was accused of abuse and exploitation of young individuals, alongside allegations of a vast trafficking network. And regardless of caste, religion and culture, there was absolute disgust. But why are these acts so objectively wrong? In fact, what does it even mean to be an objective wrong? So an objective wrong is something that a moral realist would believe. This is a metaethical theory that says there is such thing as a true objective good. Now, they typically appeal to a god, but they can go into all other sorts of things. So for example, utilitarians, that's probably the most famous one. They are a naturalist, moral realist view. So they say that good can be reduced to the natural property of happiness, of pleasure. So where does Epstein apply to this? Well, the utilitarian would be very much against his acts, since whilst they caused him some level of pleasure, disgustingly so, they caused such levels of suffering and pain that the evil far outweighs the good in this. So the utilitarian would attack Epstein's ideas. Similarly, more ancient theories such as Aristotelian virtue ethics would also disagree with Epstein's acts. Now, virtue ethics says that objectively what is good is what a virtuous person would do. So you aim to develop your virtues throughout your life such that you're using the right amount of each emotion for a situation. There's doctrine of the mean. So Epstein was using way too much passion, too much of his anger and lust to then create a vice rather than a virtue. So a virtue ethicist would also disagree with his acts. So this seems all well and good, but what are the issues with this theory? What is wrong with moral realism? Well, firstly, something may seem bad when it necessarily doesn't have to be. So there are more ambiguous cases than obviously Epstein's acts. But stealing, for example, you could argue that in some cases stealing is good. So suddenly there's a lot more of a subjective feel to it. Another thing is, even if there are these objective truths to morality, where do they come from? Is it a god? Some sort of natural property? Or something else? There's a lot of divide on that. And even speaking of this divide, there's so much difference between societies in terms of what is legal or what is moral. So how can we say that there is this objective morality when there seems to be such divide across all social aspects? So if there are these issues with morality, what is the alternative? Let's look at emotivism. This is the anti-realist theory, which states that our morality is based off of approval and disapproval. So when I say that murder is wrong, I'm saying boo murder. Now, this is to do with how you want things to happen to you. So when you disapprove of something, you're saying, okay, I don't want that to happen to me. Suddenly, this objective morality makes a lot more sense, since suddenly it's not so objective, but nobody wants things to happen to them which are bad. So all of Epstein's acts, I wouldn't want them to happen to me. So the emotivist is saying, whilst it's not objective, it's something we tend to agree on. Returning to the issue of society differences to do with objective morality, maybe moral relativism can do even better than emotivism. So moral relativism states that morality differs between societies, such that if you want to stay in your society, you have to fall in line with the rules. So basically all they're saying is that a society may value certain things like freedom or religion, and they'll base their laws and rules based on that. And you need to follow those rules in order to stay in that society, and that's what's deemed as moral. Now this explains why there is differences in what is deemed moral. For example, back in the day in ancient Roman times, slavery was a accepted normality in society, whereas now it's completely abhorrent. So you could say that Epstein's acts are disgusting, which they are, but in another time, maybe they were less disrespected. I'm not trying to justify anything here, but I'm just saying that this is a possibility, and it explains why there are these differences in what is deemed moral. Now, I will admit, this leads us to a deeply uncomfortable notion that there is no objective morality. Let's weigh up these thoughts. So, if we do agree that there is no objective morality, this leads us to a point of moral nihilism. This is a point that nothing has any consequence, since there is no objective evil. So we could argue that any act is just because there is no truth that we're trying to aim towards. And this is quite disturbing because it means that we can't put people away who have done evil things, which are clearly evil, because there is no objective evil. This is difficult to kind of put into words here. Another thing is moral progress. So if there is no moral truth that we're trying to strive towards, any change in what is deemed moral is just a change in popularity. So slavery right now is wrong, but if this is true, that there is no objective morality, all we're saying is that slavery is just unpopular at the moment, which is quite disturbing to think about. So without this difference between justice and opinion, we've come to notice that morality is just something that's kind of irrelevant, to be honest. Maybe morality is written into reality itself, or maybe humans have just evolved to the point where some things are so deeply cared for that they seem objective. Either way, there are some things, some acts that are just too evil to ignore, and maybe that fact alone tells us something profound about what it is to be human. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep questioning, keep wondering, and keep putting your mind on the matter.